guys, in this episode of our vintage Victa 1042 lawn tractor repair and restoration, we are going to have a look at the cutting deck. We want to get this cutting deck cutting and mechanically somewhat sound before we put a lot of time into restoring it. So that's what we're going to do today. We can clearly see it needs a little bit of TLC, so scooch in, bring your face balls a bit closer to the screen and we'll have a look. Also, if you missed out on a previous episode, we got this little beauty started and running. That was super fun. Go and check that out as well. Let us know what you think. Anyway, welcome back to the Burton Builds garage. Let's get started. First up is to give the deck a bit of a clean. It's got a couple of years of grease and grime and oil on it, and it's going to be much more pleasant working on something that is a little bit cleaner. So we'll hit the hose on here, a bit of degreaser, and then we'll see how that comes out. These two idlers, they seem okay for a test, although if we pull the belt off, belt's also pretty loose. The little tensioner here is stuck, so we're going to have to check that out. There's a spring tensioner, self-tensioner. I don't know what's happening there. We've got 3 blades, 1, 2, 3. We'll have a look at them on the bottom. This one is free. That one will work for a test. These two are completely, well, not completely, this one's even loose. So yeah, that bearing is completely seized. This one is also mostly completely seized, so we're gonna have to see what's happening there. The belt looks okay for a test. Actually a bit of a nick there, but anyway, it looks okay for a test. I'm sure we can pick one of these up at some stage. The little 90-degree drive here, I see there is a little grease nipple on the back. I don't think that is original, although it's making life a lot easier. So we'll open that up, check the grease situation. So the blades, we've only got 2 out of 3 on here, and that's because I managed to remove the third one. Now this is the one that is free. So I'm gonna shoot down to the mower shop, Turf Master down the road here. Hopefully they can help out match up a set of blades. These are slightly worn, so I'm going to need them anyway. I'm pretty confident that we'll eventually get this thing running and cutting, so would rather pick up a fresh set of blades, and at least then this whole lot will be nicely balanced. These little nuts and stuff on these hub adapters, whatever you want to call them, sure, they're not looking too good. Hopefully we are able to get those out and to get a new set of bearings in there. I've got no idea if we're even going to be able to get bearings. I might have to carefully remove these and repack them. Hopefully I don't break a bearing. Anyway, let's move into the garage and get working. So this key and pulley is slightly worn. So we managed to remove the 3 blades, hubs, and the bearing assemblies, and as expected, they were all rusted. All of the bearings need to be replaced. We will get to that shortly, but before we actually get to that, I thought, you know what, let me just put some rust converter onto the bottom of here just to try and preserve this a little bit before we actually get to a full restoration. So I'm going to use some of this NS1 Rust Buster or Rust Converter by Durham. Now you get many different brands. They all pretty much do the same thing. We're just going to paint that on here, and it takes 2 or 3 hours to dry. Basically all the rusted metal will go black, and that'll provide a bit of a protective layer for not very long, but better than leaving it just bare metal and rusted like this. Of course, when we get to the full restoration, we'll completely strip this, probably sandblast it, and then paint it with, I'm guessing, like a polyurethane, which is really strong, the type of thing that you might paint on floors. So we'll get to that. This is just an interim sort of step in case any of you guys are wondering. Also, before I painted this on here, remember we did degrease this. I was outside, didn't show you guys that, so I gave the whole thing a good washing, degreasing, and then I hit this entire bottom section with a wire wheel to get rid of the loose and flaky stuff. That's also a good thing to do before putting this rust converter on. And you can actually see it's already starting to work here. All of this black area, the little black spots, eventually this entire piece will be a dark black, and that's I think that's probably like an oxide layer. It's a chemical reaction happening between the rust and this solution that we're putting on here, and it forms a bit of an black oxide layer, which gives you that little bit of protection. So we're pretty much at the point where I need to start reassembling the bottom of the deck, and before we go any further, we've got a slight problem. One of the spindles is, well, the keyway in one of the spindles is very badly worn. Now the reason I say that is because here's one that isn't worn, it's one of the others, and you can clearly see there's a difference. So what the correct thing to do is to actually press this shaft out of this flange at the bottom here and turn up another one of these, cut a new keyway, and then everything's hunky-dory. But of course we're not going to do that. What we're going to do tonight is just weld up this entire hole. We'll file it round again, and then we'll cut a new keyway or new slot in the back here. Now the reason we're not going to do it properly tonight is, again, because I just want to have a proof of concept here that this whole thing works and cuts properly before we put a lot of time and effort and money into restoring it. And then also the pulley is also worn, so you can see, well, I don't know if you can really see that, but that hole is a bit oblong. Here's one that isn't worn. There we go, get a bit of background there. So this one on the left is not worn, this one on the right is quite badly worn. So there's also a bit of turning work that needs to be done here. I think as an interim test, what we'll do is we'll put the worn pulley onto the good shaft, so that there's only a very small amount of, if you can see, only a very small amount of play, and then we'll bolt it up nice and tightly. And then with the non-worn pulley, we'll put that onto the slightly worn shaft and also bolt that up nice and tightly. So in that way we're not having this major play. Let's just pop these two, where's it here, the very worn one onto the very worn shaft, and then you've got this like major play. If we swap them around, then most of that play is taken away. So hopefully that's going to work, and then we can get on with the reassembly. So I got the shaft welded up. Now there we have it over there. That's that massive gap that was in there. That's all been welded up, and I've cut another slot for a key in the opposite end. Now this worked out pretty well, so we're going to use the same key. Now it is slightly worn, but that's not a problem. It's not past its sell-by date yet, and if we go ahead and use one of the pulleys that is not worn and carefully slide that on without the key coming out, hopefully. There we go. Takes a little bit of wiggling. And there we go. There it's home. There's very, very little play, and it looks to be quite square. Even if this pulley does slightly run out of whack, it's not really going to be noticeable because it's quite a long belt. So I'm pretty stoked with that. I think we'll get away with it. Okay, so the worn pulley, that's this one over here. You can see I've nicely trued up the face, or I've trued up both sides actually, and we've got a shim inside here. Now I'm not sure if you can really see it. There we go. You can just see that shim in there. So I've got that shim in there, and if I put it onto one of the shafts that's not so worn, and there's a key already in there, and we slide that in, and there we go. Now there's a little bit more play on this shaft, and it rocks slightly, but I think it'll be okay once we bolt this all up with those nice flush faces. I'm pretty sure both these pulleys are going to give us an acceptable result. So we got to the point now where we need to start putting on the blades underneath the deck. Now, of course, the original blades are very worn, and because the tractor's so old, it's not available anymore. So I went down to the local sort of lawnmower shop, if you will. I think they're called Pro Expert, here in Walmer in Port Elizabeth. They were very helpful. They came up with this. Now, this is a Makita blade, funny enough, made Makita to the rescue. It's got a serial number 263001414. And I believe this is maybe from an electric lawnmower, although it's quite heavy duty, not as heavy duty as the original ones. But I did kind of look through some of the newer model ride-on lawnmower style blades, and they are about the same thickness as this. So this was actually quite heavy duty, and I'm not going to be doing any sort of brush cutting or through the bush. It's mainly just for a little bit of show and tell and some short grass around the house. So I was lucky enough that these have the same bolt pattern and spacing. The only difference here is the central bolt. Now this I think is 3/8. It's about 9.3 millimeters. That is on the original, and on the new replacements, this is a 20 millimeter hole. So what I've come up with, right, is, of course, we had to make a little spacer. I'm just trying to get the spacer out here. I've managed to find this. Now this is a washer with a 20 millimeter outside diameter. It's also quite thick. It's almost as thick as the blade. So that fits perfectly into the center, and then the original, I think this is, as I say, I think it's 3/8. That fits through the center of the washer pretty damn well. So I'm stoked about that. I think it's going to work quite well. And then we've also still got the original bolts. These are 2 bolts that are going to go through the hub, one on either side there, and they get bolted through the hub, through the blade with washers on either side. So I don't think these blades are going to be coming off. I want to know from you guys, do you think these blades need all 3 bolts to safely be mounted, or is it sufficient to have the outer 2 bolts holding the blade on and the inner bolt just as a guide? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Maybe you know better than what I do. For the moment, I'm just going to, well, I'm going to use the 2 outer ones, of course, and I'm going to use the central one with a washer. I've got this washer, and it's actually bigger than the 20 millimeter hole. I'm also going to use that as a 3rd mounting point. But let me know in the comments. I'd like to know from you guys. And I was lucky enough to find these. Now, I also believe these blades are not very accessible anymore. So the next time we need to replace them when they wear out, we're going to have to make some other type of plan adapter of sorts to find another blade. Also, if you guys know of anything that fits these tractors, let me know in the comments. Cool, so we've got all three blades installed and they seem to be spinning quite nicely. So I managed to get a new set of wheels, not exactly the same, but we'll check this out shortly. Not much more to do, just to check the grease in the gearbox, and that's pretty much it actually. Then we can hang it and see if it cuts. So the wheels I managed to get are these white nylon wheels. Now, these things were super cheap, like $3, around about 40 bucks. And it looks like they are going to work. They've got the same size axle, 16mm, and these definitely need to be replaced. I mean, I think we can get away with that play. I mean, it's not excessive, but yeah, new set of wheels I think will work damn well. I think at a later stage we'll get a 16mm washer to put in between the split pin and the nylon wheel. I don't have one at the moment, so this will have to do for now. It's not a difficult fix though, so I don't think it's too important. There we go. That'll work just dandy. Hey, this one's got a washer. Maybe we can use that on this side. Perfect. I haven't replaced the bearings on these idler pulleys because they seem to be okay for now, just for a test. I mean, they do need to be replaced, but we're going to have to rebuild these the same way as we did the ones on the actual tractor itself, by drilling out the rivets, splitting the actual idler, replacing the bearing in the inside, and then bolting the whole lot back together. But for a test, these will be just fine. Yummy. No man, it still looks good to go. I reckon we close it up, stick it on the mower, and we'll see if it cuts. Oh, we've also still got to put the belt back on. I mustn't forget about that. Cool, so I managed to get the deck on last night, all went pretty easily. I had to manufacture two little, I don't know, trailing links, or I don't know, deck hangers. It's just basically a piece of flat bar with two holes on either side. It matches the ones at the back underneath there. You can't really see them in the shadows. Anyway, we got it all hanging up. Also, sun's making things a bit bright here, but used nails because I don't have any cotter pins. I need to go to the shop, pick a couple of those up. I think they're called cotter pins. And then also, there's two shrouds or covers that are missing. I think there's supposed to be one that goes over here, over this pulley, and then one pulley on the other, or a cover on the other side. Those are missing. We'll have to manufacture those at some stage. I don't even know really what they look like. So if any of you guys do know, maybe send us a link in the comments, and then maybe I can go and have a look at it, or send us some photos, and then we'll check it out from there. This side of the deck, pretty much the same as the other side, really, except it's hiding in the shadows. So this side's got the chute on. Now, I haven't, well, it's very dark, you can't really see, but I haven't cut anything yet, so you guys will be the first to see everything. Also, underneath here, let's see if I can get you a better picture there. There we go. We had to connect up the belt, and everything seems to be turning freely and working as it should. How'd it feel? I really do need to build a leaf catcher or a grass box or something. I mean, this kind of defeats the point of having a ride-on lawnmower, and then you've still got to get off and rake everything up. But I'm not too worried, because we will eventually make a grass box. Check here, cut this root off it. So why don't you guys be like an old piece of chewed gum on a car seat and stick around for the next couple of videos. I think they are going to be pretty interesting. We are starting to work on a new project, and hint, hint, here it is in the background. Here's the steering wheel. I'll give you a bit more of a hint. It's got 4 fat ass wheels, a 465cc 4-stroke engine, 7-speed sequential gearbox, and the bumper bar. Don't forget the bumper bar. So can't wait to start working on that, although I'm not going to forget about restoring our vintage Victa 1042 lawn tractor. I'll kind of work on them slowly together, although we probably might start focusing on the new project for now, while I save up a little bit of money for this one. Talking about that, if any of you guys want to bankroll the restorations, then just put it in the comments below, send me an email. You know, nobody really says no to an economic stimulus package, if you know what I mean. But yeah, pretty stoked with the way things have turned out so far. Mechanically, it is all working, so I think it is worth spending the time and money restoring it to its formal glory. Guys, if you found the video useful or entertaining at least, please hit the thumbs up button. It really does help share the video far and wide. And I guess if you know what this little project is going to be, this little one on the right hand side here, let us know in the comments what you think. And Justin W, no, you're not allowed to comment because you know already. Thank you very much for watching and spending the time with me through all of these little projects. My name is Burton. This is the Burton Builds Garage, and you'll see me in the next video. Cheers.